Hey guys, welcome back. So today we have another fun video for you, but before we get started, please take the time to like, share, and subscribe to our videos. It's really surprising how many people don't subscribe to our channel but actually watch our videos. So please click that subscribe button, just takes a second, it really helps us out. And also comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts about what we talk about in today's video. So what is today's video about? Well, I'm gonna pick 5 firearms, not specific firearms, but let's say category of firearms that I think would be necessary in case we had a complete collapse of government, something like without the rule of law, or what people commonly call the shiznit hitting the fan. Society completely breaks down and it's just a free-for-all. This video is not a call to arms or anything like that. It's purely speculation, but it's an exercise that I wanted to go through because when I had posted my top 5 firearms, if I could only have 5 video, somebody asked me this question: what would you choose, and would the choices be different if we were in a without the rule of law type of situation? So that's what today's video is about. We have some pretty cool guns to show you this afternoon, so let's get started. Guys, please swing by and check out Big Daddy Unlimited, BDU. They help support us here at the Military Arms Channel with products and things like that so we can continue to bring you content. There's a link in the video description down below that'll take you to the Mac blog and website. Please follow that link, and from there you'll find a link to Big Daddy Unlimited, and try them out just for 99 cents. You can see what they're all about. In essence, they're just like a big online store that has amazing prices. So please, again, check out BDU. My first choice is something I believe every American should have, and that's a rifle. Now, there are a lot of different types of rifles out there on the market that you can choose from, different calibers, different types, different operating systems. What I'm about to show you is not something that I'm saying you should use, it's just what I personally use. Now, in my original video, I had chosen the SIG Virtus as the rifle I would keep if I could only have one rifle. But when we start talking about without the rule of law or shiznit hits the fan, my choice did change, and I went back to something that I'm kind of known for, and that's being a fan of bullpups. This is the rifle that I would choose. This is an SBR, so it has a 13-inch barrel on it. It does not have the 16-inch barrel, but even in its 16-inch barrel configuration, this is still a very small, light, handy package for a rifle. This rifle is perfectly capable of engaging targets out to 300 meters, which is what most rifles would be used for. It is chambered in 5.56. I have a Savvy Sniper sling on it. The Savvy Sniper sling is something that we sell over at Copper Custom. It's been a sling I've been using for many years, and they're really nice in that you can adjust the length by pulling on a slider. They also have bungee in them, so even if you have the sling nice and tight where it's close up to your body for transport, it can easily be brought up to the shoulder and still be used even without having to put slack into the sling. I also run the sling mount on the QD back here outside because it holds the butt of the gun into my body, so I can cover it up with a coat or something like that. If I had to, I can push it over to the side and cover it up with a field jacket. So it's a very small, handy little package. It uses standard Snag military type magazine, so aluminum, steel, or Lancer polymer mags or PMags. I found all work just fine in my X95. On top, I have an EOTech. I go back and forth. I'm considering putting an Elcan on there, but that's for another video. Out here, I have a light. This is one of the new Rain lights from Cloud Defensive. I have my control pads up here on top, just in front of the EOTech, which is out of view of the EOTech, and then this light. Considering going to the micro version, just because this light's just a little bit too big for my personal tastes, but I wanted to give it a try anyway. Out here on the end, I have an OSS can, and it's a K configuration. I've chosen this because I want to take the edge off that blast from a 13-inch barrel. If you've ever fired a 5.56 with an 11, a 12, or a 13-inch barrel, that concussion is significant. If I have to use this weapon inside of a house, inside of a vehicle, I'm trying to prevent me from blowing my eardrums out. It's not meant to be perfectly hearing safe for every shot fired. So that's why I've chosen this. And I really, really love the X95 because it's just a great shooting weapon that's really, really reliable. It's a long stroke gas piston operation, and the entire mechanism, operating mechanism, is back here, as is all the weight. Out here is very light, and back here is where all the weight is. They balance perfectly. Push button mag release, mags drop right out, reload, and resume shooting. So a rifle, a definite necessity. Let's move on to the next one. If you have a rifle, you obviously need a good handgun. A good option, given where we are right now in terms of adoption of military standard firearms, the SIG P320 has become the new U.S. military service handgun in the M17, or in this case, the M18. And because of that, not true as of today, but slowly, because of how many police departments use the P320, because all branches of the military are now using the M17 or M18, I do believe eventually these magazines will be as commonplace down the road as Glock magazines are today. It's going to take a little while to get there, but that's the direction it's going. Civilian ownership of P320s has been through the roof for years as well. The magazines are widely available, and again, I think they're the kind of the future. So you could do very well for yourself using a P320, or in this case, an M18. On the end, I have a light. It's probably not a bad idea to have a light on a fighting handgun, and then you're going to have to get the holster that would go along with it. I use 9mm because 9mm is a standard, much like 5.56 and 223 is here in the United States. Every caliber I'm going to show you today is a standard military caliber, and it's chosen because of the fact that it is a military caliber and readily available. With the M18, you have night sights that are built onto it. This one has a manual safety that the military requested. It has full ambi controls. You have a slide stop, slide release on both sides of the gun, as well as a manual safety. Now, the standard P320 won't have that manual safety, and you may choose to go with the P320 for that reason. But there's another reason why I've chosen this handgun and this magazine, which we'll get into here in a moment. I have found that the M18 is a great shooting handgun. I really enjoy it, and I like the size of the M18 because it's the same size roughly as the Glock that was submitted to the military trials, the 19X. And I really like that. You have kind of a full-size grip and then a shortened slide and barrel. It makes for a very well-balanced and fine, or nice shooting handgun. Once again, I'm not saying to run out and get a P320 or a SIG M18, M17. I'm just saying choose a good handgun that has some compatibility with other weapons you might choose and use as a caliber that's commonly available. To go along with the discussion about a handgun, let's talk about 9mm PCCs. In this case, this is a B&T 9. It is a pistol with an SB Tactical side-folding brace on it. But something like this gives an advantage over the standard handgun in that a handgun, typical average ranges that most average shooters can use a handgun to engage a target effectively, is in the 15-yard to 25-yard range. 25-yard being a more capable shooter. And of course, there's other guys out there like Jerry Michalik that can shoot a .38 snub nose to 500 yards. But that's not your typical shooter. Handguns are short-ranged weapons, especially the little tiny ones that are concealable. When you step up to something like this, a slightly much larger pistol, but in the case of this one, we have a brace on it, which you can also form one and turn it into a rifle. We can extend that range now to past that 25 yards or even 50 yards. We can engage targets out to 100 and further with 9mm using, in this case, a 115 grain ball, Federal, that I have loaded in here. So I have that magazine compatibility that I was talking about with the handgun. This particular model of the APC-9 uses the P320 mags. Now, one of the reasons I like the P320 is because this 21-round magazine is a military standard magazine. It's being produced and issued. And there are rumors of 30-round magazines coming down the pipe. I would expect Magpul to get into the P320 magazine game at some point because they are such popular handguns, and of course, being adopted by the U.S. military, they'll probably be adopted by other militaries as well down the road. So again, I really see the P320 magazine becoming almost as popular as Glock magazines, at least in my lifetime. So these little guns, very handy. I have it suppressed. On the end, I have a Griffin Armament. It's a 9mm can that is the Revolution 9, so I can take a few baffles out and make it shorter. I have it in what's called the K configuration, which is slightly shorter. With a system like this, using 147 grain ball rounds or even hollow points, this can take very discrete shots that would you know, may be of benefit to somebody that's in a shiznit hits the fan type situation. So that's another benefit to something like this. And running this suppressed is a little bit less cumbersome because you can sling this as well than suppressing your handgun. That becomes more cumbersome and not something you typically can holster and carry around suppressed. This you can just leave suppressed. One of the things I get asked all the time is, Mac, how can I get involved in the firearms industry? Well, one of the best ways to do that is to consider going to Modern Gun School. It's an accredited school, and they offer all the modern classes that will get you up to speed and be able to empower you to go out and find a job in the gun industry. You can learn gunsmithing and things like that, and you learn from home. So please check them out. I have a URL down in the video description below. The next firearm I'm going to show you guys is something that is very special purpose in nature. This is what the military would typically call a crew-served weapon, which is a light machine gun. This is semi-automatic. But even in its semi-automatic form, this is still a very effective tool. What would you use a tool like this for? Well, covering fire, so you can cover troop movement, deny an area to an enemy force, just basic suppressive fire. It is based on the AR-15. It was purpose-built around it. It's very small, lightweight. It's made by Ares Defense, and it runs either belts or standard STANAG magazines, and it goes back to that ammunition compatibility thing that I was talking about earlier with 9mm and magazines between your pistol and your PCC. Well, that's the case here with the rifle and this particular belt-fed weapon. So this gun has much lower cost alternatives. Now, there are guns out there like the M249 Saws that were semi-automatic that go for like $15K plus on Gunbroker these days. This is about half that price or less than half that price, but still for most people prohibitively expensive. There are, like with every firearm we've talked about in this video, alternatives out there that are much lower cost. Take the RPK, for example. If you and your team standardize on 7.62x39, or even if you don't, you can still use an RPK in the same role as I would use what I call the Ares Defense Shrike. This goes back to when the gun was first brought out before it became the MCR from Fightlight. So anyway, this gun has a quick change barrel system in it. It can use standard military equipment like this 100 round nutsack, which plugs into an adapter that goes into your magazine well. And it can feed for this 100 round nutsack, or you can put one of the 200 round plastic saw boxes underneath there, or you can just drop this adapter out completely and run it with a STANAG magazine. Again, magazine capacity and ammunition compatibility, magazine compatibility and ammunition compatibility with my rifle that I showed you at the beginning of the video. Can't run them both at the same time though. So let's see how this gun works. Again, even as a semi-automatic, this is still a very effective weapon system for its intended purpose. Now the weapon's out of belts. Check to make sure it's clear. I can close this top cover, insert a standard STANAG type magazine, charge the weapon. Make sure I got one in there, may not have. Nope, didn't. There we go. And the bolt does lock open on the last shot fired when you're using STANAG magazines. So this is a very lightweight, neat option for those of you looking for something like this, but again, much lower cost alternatives out there on the market. The final 5 of my choices for types of firearms would be the DMR, or designated marksman's rifle, or a weapon system that is capable of reaching out past what your standard fighting rifle would be capable of reaching out to and deliver more energy on target. So in this case, the example I'm going to show is a firearm we recently got into Copper Custom that I'm playing with here. It's the LMT Sharpshooter, which is a reference rifle. It's pretty much a dead-on copy of the L129A1 DMR that was adopted by Great Britain, and it's similarly set up. This is the 6-power ACOG. The Brits would run an RMR on top here. Their ACOGs are black. This one's flat dark earth. I found it used for a steel, so that's why it's on here. But this rifle has a quick change 16-inch barrel, things like that. So it's a very effective firearm for what it is, and that's to deliver aimed fire at extended ranges that you may find yourself needing to do. But why have I chosen a gas gun over something like a bolt action? Well, this rifle can also be set up with an offset mount or with the RMR on top. You can put an offset mount over here at a 45-degree angle and be able to rotate the rifle for CQB, or just use the red dot on top of the magnified optic. So you can, do door kicking, for example, with it, and then you can go prone and put a bipod on it if you wanted to, and deliver that aimed fire at distance. Again, a lot of firearms on the market that are available that don't cost as much as this. But the primary reason I chose this particular setup is because it's gas operated, self-loading, and it chambers 308 or 7.62 by 51, again, a military standard. Magazines and ammunition are readily available here in the United States to keep a weapon like this up and running. A very, very neat rifle. One thing that you'll fire when you're shooting it, it has a tuning fork ring to it when you have your hearing protection on. But yeah, a great rifle, very accurate, very capable for the purposes of delivering aimed fire at range, and small enough and portable enough to be used as a secondary weapon if you needed to, as just a regular fighting rifle. So here are all the firearms that I chose for my top 5 firearms for without rule of law or shiznit hits the fan. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I look forward to your comments down below and what firearms you might choose for such a situation. And yeah, it's always fun to have those conversations. Plus, it helps us with the algorithms. Also, guys, we are supported by you, our viewing audience, not by the gun manufacturers or importers. We're supported by you because YouTube has mostly demonetized our channel along with a bunch of other channels. There's a link to Patreon down below. Consider clicking that link and becoming part of our Patreon family. You'll get videos released to you much sooner than they get released to the general public. You have direct communication to us. We answer all private emails, and you help steer the direction of the channel when we post polls and things like that. We put everything to a vote for our Patreons when we make a major decision. So again, link down below. Right here on YouTube, there's a little join button underneath the video player you're watching right now. Click that join button and you can support us right here on YouTube. And last but not least, guys, please swing by and check out coppercustom.com. Thank you for 12 years of support, and we will talk to you guys very soon.